Today I'm bringing you an awesome dinosaur deck profile to counter the Fire King meta. What's potion? You got Matt here, and welcome back to our competitive Yu-Gi-Oh video. I love dinosaurs. It's one of my favorite decks of all time, if not my absolute favorite, and we did get brand new support for the deck in Maze of Millennia, which released a few weeks ago, and the reason why this deck profile isn't up a bit earlier is because I want to really make sure that I was happy with the list before I shared it with all of you. But with that being said, the deck is so much fun. It can play through a good amount of cards, assuming you have the right combination. But honestly, the deck does have some issues with its consistency and with its power level at times. So what are we going to do to fix that? Well, we're going to bring you this amazing deck profile that you're going to see shortly. So if you're excited for the video, then make sure to smash the like button. If this video hits 250 likes, then I'll bring you the ultimate combo guide for this dinosaur deck profile. Also, if you like deck profiles, combo guides, meta discussions, and competitive Yu-Gi-Oh videos just like this one, you're going to love this channel. We're on the road to 7,500 subscribers, and we can't get there without your help. But with that being said, here's the best dinosaur deck profile for the February 2024 post-Phantom Nightmare competitive Yu-Gi-Oh format. Let's jump into it. So here we are back with the deck profile portion of the video. I know, guys, we've done now 2 deck profiles in a row. I've been missing quite a few different deck profiles over the past month and a half or so, and I want to bring you guys this deck profile because I finally have all the cards I need to show it off. So this is going to be our Dino deck profile. It is not necessarily a going second variant. I love going second variants of Dino, but right now, going first I think is definitely the way you want to go because it is really hard to play around a Fire King board when you're playing dinosaurs. But with that being said, we have our 40 card main, our 15 card extra, and our 15 card side deck, and let's go ahead and jump on into it. Starting off, of course, with the best card in the deck still. It is 3 copies of Soul Eating Oviraptor. This card is so good, allowing you to not only add or send to graveyard any dinosaur monster from your deck. This is the best normal summon in the deck. It also has the ability to pop other cards, other dinosaur monsters that are level 4 or lower, and revive back other ones, which is really good in general. We then have a new normal summon in the deck in 2 copies of Kaitoptera. I think this card at 2 copies is perfect. I've seen a lot of lists run it at 3 and have this be their main starter in the strategy. I prefer Soul Eating Oviraptor to be the main starter in the strategy because, in my opinion, Kaitoptera requires a bit more going on than something like Soul Eating Oviraptor does. Soul Eating Oviraptor having both effects is really nice. Kaitoptera having just the one effect to basically search for the polymerization and then having to rely on the bash, or on it being bash, I should say, is a little unfortunate. But what I do like it for as well, what I really like it for rather, is to send it to the graveyard off of something like the Soul Eating Oviraptor and banish it in combination with the Miscellaneousaurus to be able to then summon out a level 2 dino, use Kaitoptera to bring itself back, which is going to be great because then I can use this effect to add polymerization from my deck to my hand as an ignition effect, which is going to be really nice. The problem is I don't get the poly back this turn if I banish it again, but it still is a solid option nonetheless. And then of course we have the 1 copy of Miscellaneousaurus. This is our 3-2-1 ratio for our level 4 dino monsters. I am not playing the scrap package. I'm also not playing Giant Rex. Giant Rex is not needed anymore because we have Kaitoptera, which essentially does the exact same thing, just a better version of Giant Rex. And Misk is a great card. I wish it was back to 2 or 3. I think if it was back to 2 or 3, dinos could definitely contend with any deck of the format, but that's neither here nor there. We also have 3 copies of Baby Ceratosaurus. I love this card in the deck. You have to play it at 2 copies, and going alongside it is going to be 2 copies of Petit Pteranodon. So essentially what these cards do is the exact same thing. If they are destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 4 or lower in the case of Baby Ceratosaurus, or level 4 or higher in the case of Petit Pteranodon from your deck. Baby Ceratosaurus and Petit Pteranodon are neither of them are once per turn, which is insane because you can summon out so many cards, you can loop them over and over. It is really good, and the entire deck revolves around destroying these guys right here. We then, to complement them, have our 1 copy of Anomodon Argosaur. This is, again, 40 cards in the list, so drawing the 1 copy of Argosaur can be a brick. It is a brick, period. But it comes up so rarely, and I really didn't want to play 2 copies of it because the deck itself needs to find a way to be able to combat the current Snake Eye Fire King meta, and it's really hard at doing that because that deck is just so good, and Dinosaur needs every advantage it can get. So there are going to be some games where you just have to sacrifice having it in your deck to be able to play an extra piece of consistency or an extra interruption or whatever the case might be. So if you want to play 2 Argosaur, go ahead. I'll let you know what I would cut to play that second Argosaur, but I love the ratio of 3-2-1, 3-2-1. That being said, let's move on to our big dinosaurs. Those are our small dinos. Our big dinos starting off, of course, with the 2 copies of Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. This card is so good. It breaks boards like no other. One of the best ways to be able to break a board in the game today. Just destroying a card, getting you advantage, and Book of Eclipsing the entire board is great. If you can't Book of Eclipse a Link monster, whatever. The only Link monster that you're really worried about too much is going to be like SP Little Knight, and if you just so happen to have Miscellaneousaurus, yeah, I dare you, try and banish me. It's not going to happen. Either way, great card, easy summoning condition, destroys cards, can attack everything, can easily go for game that way as well. Honestly, this card here with a Pentastag is going to be game 95% of the time at least. It's just that strong of a card. We also have the 1 copy of Dogoron the Mad Flame Kaiju. It is a searchable Kaiju. It sucks that it's a fire, but because it is a searchable Kaiju off of something like Soul Eating Oviraptor, we should be playing it as a way to get rid of some weird problematic floodgates or weird interesting cards that we just don't like to deal with at all. We also have the 1 copy of Dino Wrestler Pankratops. I would play 2 copies in the deck, but deck space is very tight, so 2 copies is a little tough. If you want to play the 2nd copy of Animadorn Argosaur, I would actually take out the Dogoron. By the way, that's what I would take out here, but right now I do think that Pankratops is a great option to have. If you want to play the 2 copies, you can. I just think that right now at 1, it is more than enough for me. I'm also playing the 1 copy of Xenometeorus and the 1 copy of Frostosaurus. I had in the past been playing 2 Xeno and then a Frostosaurus and a Megalo Smasher X to have 2 vanilla monsters to go into either a level 10 synchro like Baron or Changying, or to go into something like a rank 6 Xyz in this case here with the Frostosaurus and the Xenometeorus. I've come to realize that I don't really need to do that. I have access to a bunch of level 4s in the deck already in the form of Oviraptor and Kaitoptera and Miscellaneous Source, so I don't need to go into Baron or Changying all the time. A lot of the time, going into something that has 2 interruptions like Lars is going to be still really, really strong. So that's why we have them here. Xenometeorus, a few great effects. Being able to summon itself out when a dinosaur is destroyed is great. And then the second effect, being able to destroy another dinosaur and be able to special summon a vanilla from the deck is also really nice. So that's going to be our dinosaur monsters here. Not the biggest count in the world, but it definitely is a very concise, clean, and strong engine nonetheless. We are pairing that with, surprisingly, the Wanted package. Yeah, listen, the Wanted package is insanely expensive right now. I get it. And the card I'm going to be pairing with, there are a couple options. There's the Jirac level 1 and the level 4 with like Evil Singularity. I said Jirac, but I meant Evil Tile. There's also Jirac-Aeolo as a level 1 tuner, but honestly, just play Jet Synchron. Jet Synchron is so good. Having this engine here is honestly insane. And the reason why I like it so much in this deck is because it's so good at link climbing in the strategy. By having access to Wanted, getting you Diabellstar, you can send an unnecessary copy of an extra body you have on the field. A lot of the time you do have that extra body on the field for no reason. We're not playing Secure Gardener in the extra deck, so if you have something like a Linkuriboh on the field and you need to get a non-dino in graveyard, you can use Diabellstar's effect to send the Linkuriboh to the graveyard, which can end up being really good to be able to then proceed with your plays, get out the Jet Synchron, and link climb that way. This engine here is for link climbing, and that is the only reason it is here. So if you don't want to play this engine, play the scrap engine if you want to, play an extra copy of the Xenometeorus if you want to. There are a lot of different ways you can go about this, but I like this engine as a way to link climb a lot because this deck needs to have powerful cards that force negation to allow the rest of the engine to go online. Because if I normal summon Oviraptor, it is a prime target to be Ashed, Imperm, Veilord, whatever. But if I have the Black Witch combo, they don't know what I'm going to be doing. So this combo here can represent at least at the very worst case, SP Little Knight if you get interrupted even at some point, and that's still really strong nonetheless. Anyways, that's going to be our Sinful Spoils engine. Moving on to the rest of the deck, we have our remaining spell cards in the strategy. That's going to be starting off, of course, with 3 copies of Fossil Dig, amazing card here, non once per turn, searches for a level 6 or lower dinosaur monster. We have 2 copies of Double Evolution Pill, banish a dinosaur and a non-dinosaur from your deck, from your graveyard rather, hand or graveyard I should say. And you're able to then special summon a level 7 or higher dino from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions, so you can summon out the Tyranno, you can summon out the Pankratops, you can summon out the Dogoron if you really want to, but honestly don't, just summon out the other 3 monsters, but it's still really good. I'm playing it at 2 copies because 1, it is searchable, which is great, but 2, it is such a good card to just draw off the top of your deck because it can be a game-winning card on its own. It is that strong of an option here. Yes, it is prime Ash bait. This is like, this and Miscellaneous Source are like the 2 best cards to Ash in the entire strategy, but honestly, Pill is such an amazing card. I really want to have 2 copies of it. We then have 2 copies of Ground Xeno. Would I play a 3rd one? No, I would not. This card is like $50 right now. I would not play a 3rd one because the card itself, we're not trying to go through an entire strategy of like, we want to rely on Xenometeorus. We're relying on a fusion package based on the Kaitoptera. We're relying on Soul Eating Oviraptor and the OG Dino plays. And this is just like a supporting engine. It's an extra starter if we have a baby in our hand. But again, it's not a card that we're saying this is the mandatory card to have. We have so many starters in the deck already. We have like 12 starters right now, so I don't feel the need to have an additional one. Moving on though, we have the 1 copy of Polymerization. This is what we're searching off of with the Kaitoptera. Just an amazing card to be able to get into our Horn Source and then allow us to get extra normal summons that way and really get our engine going, and it is recyclable off of the Kaitoptera as well. Our final cards in the spell category are going to be the 1 copy of Lost World and the 1 copy of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Okay, so let's talk about this. Lost World is a great card. I love Lost World in general. It's a card that does so much for the strategy, being able to protect my dinosaur monsters from the effects of like targeting effects like Imperm, for example. But it's also really good being able to prevent something like Evenly Matched from ruining our day, because you give our opponent the token, and a lot of the time they can keep the token. Secret Village of the Spellcasters is an amazing card because we can search it out multiple different ways in this strategy. We can search it out with Horned Source. We can also search it out with Ancient Fairy Dragon. There are so many ways to search it out, and we have access to spellcasters in the strategy, not only Diabellstar, but in the extra deck as well. And shutting off spell cards in the Snake Eye Fire King strategy is really, really good, because if they don't have access to exactly Diabellstar in their hand, then they can't break the lock unless they go to battle phase and clear over something, and you're always going to have protection to beat things by battle, which is great. A lot of your removal as well, especially if you have UCT up on the field, is going to make it so that they can't beat over and you don't destroy them or send cards to the graveyard, so you're able to protect from that most plays as well. So in general, I think it's a really, really strong option in the format today. And if you can play it in your deck, a combo that gets you to Secret Village pretty easily, then definitely consider it. That being said, that's going to be it for our spell cards. We can now move on to our non-engine pieces in the strategy, starting off with 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird and 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This is our hand trap lineup, and that is it. I am not playing Ash in the main deck. I think that Ash Blossom is not the best card in the main right now compared to Droll and Lockbird. To me, it's Droll and Lockbird as the best hand trap in the format right now. Yes, I understand that there are hands in Snake Eye Fire King and in other decks that can play through Droll and Lockbird or around it or not have to worry about it too much. But there are also hands that really, really struggle. While Ash Blossom can be a card that is never going to be impactful enough against Snake Eye Fire King and can be really good against other matchups, especially rogue decks, Droll and Lockbird has the potential to be a blowout card against those strategies. And sometimes you just have to have the card that is going to be the blowout to be able to perform, especially when you're playing with a deck that is still in rogue status. Imperm, on the other hand, I'm playing over Ash for 2 reasons. The first of which is going to be it doesn't turn on Talents or Thrust, which I really don't want to do, because having access to Talents, especially in this deck, to rip a card out of your hand and starting with 3 cards in your opening hand instead of 4 is going to make it really tough. So having that as an Imperm, as a way to protect from Thrust, I should say, and Talents is going to be really important. The second reason is going to be because it is an amazing board breaker. If I just activate Imperm on something like a SP Little Knight in the draw phase, or a Masquerena in the draw phase, or a Flambridge, or whatever the case might be, it just makes it so they have fewer interruptions to deal with, which is going to be obviously a good thing for me to be able to play around. So having fewer interruptions is nice. It acts good going first and going second, which is why I'm playing it in the main deck. Anyways, that being said, that is going to be our main deck, 40 cards on the nose. Moving on to our extra deck, we have, of course, the 1 copy of Horned Source. Great card, amazing card. Allows us to do a few different things. First things first, it requires Kaitoptera. So if you summon out the Kaitoptera, search for Poly, that and any other dinosaur or dragon monster gets you to Kaitoptera, or Horned Source, I should say. On summon, you can place a field spell in the field spell zone. So it plays around something like the Droll and Lockbird, it plays around the Ash Blossom, which is nice. So it's really good there, and getting that field spell can be great because it can be either the copy of Secret Village, it can be the copy of the Lost World, and because it's a level 6 monster and the level 1 tuner in Jet Synchron, it means you can get to a level 7 monster, like for example the Ancient Fairy Dragon, which is generic, and then can pop the field spell, gain life points, and then you can go from there. So basically, any dinosaur monster, Kaitoptera, and any of the wanted package can get you access to a way to win in time as well, which is going to be really cool. But Horned Source also gives you an extra summon as well, which is really nice as well. Next up, we have the 1 copy of Transcendosaurus Gigantozauer. I don't go into this too often. It is like the 15th card in the extra deck, but it is nice to have. It's a massive body. It is easily summonable. It's also a way to revive and recycle resources, which is really nice. Honestly, I think that it is cuttable, but I do like it for the time being. Maybe down the line I'll remove it, but for the time being, again, I'm a fan. I'm also playing the 1 copy of Linkuriboh to link off our copy of the Animatorn Argosaur to get a non-dinosaur into rotation as well, just in case we don't see our wanted package. I'm playing the 1 Pentastag as a way to be able to OTK things with the copy of Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Really good option there. Obviously, the 1 SP Little Knight as a great option to be able to have on our end board. The 1 copy of Dark the Dark Charmer and the 1 copy of Selene, Queen of Master Magicians. What do these 2 cards have in common? They are spellcasters. They're also pretty damn generic to make as well. So having access to the Dark Charmer, the Selene, means that you can have your Secret Village of the Spellcaster online, which is great. I really want to play Hita. I really want to play Hita, and I think if I were to maybe make this deck again, I would remove the Gigantozauer for the Hita, but I think that it's not that impactful right now. I don't need to have it in the extra deck. It's not mandatory to play. It's just an extra spellcaster that I can use, revive back like an Ash Blossom or something like a random Snake Eye monster to then have on my side of the field so my opponent doesn't have it. And then, like, let's say I would revive back like a Flambridge Dragon or something. That'd be great, of course. Either way. Or I would revive back something like, I don't know, it could be a princess. It doesn't matter. Regardless, really solid option here to have, but I just don't think that right now it's worth me taking out the Gigantozauler for these corner cases, but maybe I feel differently as we progress the format a bit more. Selene is obviously great as well. We play a ton of spell cards. There's a ton of spell cards in the format right now. Just a great card. I am not playing the access code with it though, and the reason why is because the access code as a good generic link for to go into to OTK doesn't make sense because we do get locked into the quad types. I think it's a sea serpent, worm, dinosaur, and dragons. And we don't have the ability to go into that with the access code. We could go into it with Boreal Sword Dragon, but I'm not going to. My link for choice is going to be Appaloosa. I think Appaloosa is great at negation. We can easily make it with 3 materials, which is going to be really strong, and I want to have it in the deck for that reason. Moving on to our Xyz monsters, we have the 1 copy of Evilzor Lagia, the 1 copy of Evilzor Dolka, wow, I'm really struggling to place my cards here. The 1 copy of Evilzor Lars, and then the last card is going to be the 1 copy of the Abyss Dweller. These are our rank 6s and rank 4s in the strategy. They're great cards. Lagia being basically Solemn Judgment is great. Dolka being a twice per turn negate is really nice as well for a monster effect. Lars being twice per turn negate as well is also great. And then Abyss Dweller just being Abyss Dweller because, you know, everything activates in the graveyard right now is just really nice to have, and you can make it pretty easily. It's also a Sea Serpent, so you can make it under the lock that Xenometeorus gives you. So again, really solid. That's going to be our Link monsters. Moving on to our Synchros, because this deck can play through pretty much every single type of extra deck mechanic. We have the 1 copy of Ancient Fairy Dragon, the 1 copy of Supreme Sword Soul Sovereign Chenying, and then the 1 copy of Baronne de Fleur. This is our extra deck. AFD is great. It lets you search for Secret Village pretty easily. You can then use this card and any dark monster to make something like a Linkuriboh to be, or not Linkuriboh, what is it called? A Dark the Dark Charmer, excuse me. And that is going to be able to give you protection from other spell cards in the format today. Chenying is great because it banishes cards from the field and the graveyard to stop the random effects of these fire monsters from triggering when they get destroyed or sent to the graveyard. And then Baronne as well is just Baronne. We know how good it is. But honestly, I'm really happy with the extra deck. The 1 card I would consider putting in there is Hita right now, and that's really it. I would not play IP in this deck. You do not need to. Honestly, you just want to rely on having good, strong extra pieces on the field with something like your Ultimate Conductor Tyranno in the hand, with probably most of the time you're going to want like a baby in hand or field as well to pop that card to get the Book of Eclipse effect and get advantage off of it too. But that being said, that is going to be our extra deck. Moving on to our side deck, we start off with, of course, 3 copies of the Triple Tactic Thrust. I think Thrust is an awesome card in this deck right now as a starter as well, because if you do get ashed for some reason on something like your copy of Soling Oviraptor, you can Thrust for something like Fossil Dig if you need to, which can be really good, and that'll allow you to search for Miscellaneous Source as well to be able to continue your plays that way. We also have the ability to search for some board breakers or other going first cards, like, for example, Harpy's Feather Duster being a great card. Evenly Matched is a way to break boards. Destructive Daruma Karma Cannon as a solid option just in case we're going first and you wanted an option that was going to be helpful against decks that weren't weak to something like Dimensional Barrier. So for example, Snake Eye Fire King doesn't really care about D-Barrier, so we sided in Karma Cannon instead, and that can be a bit more advantageous for us as well. We then have 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone as great options to be able to deal with like Labyrinth, for example, and help us with that matchup too. And then we have a bunch of hand traps. We have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, and 3 copies of Nibiru the Primal Being. Ash is in the side deck. This is here for Labyrinth for me. I don't feel the need to play a Bell right now. I think having Droll, Imperm, Ash, and Nibiru as all options to be interchangeable in the deck itself is really good. And if you need to take out some engine, you definitely can. You can take out the full Wanted package. The full Wanted package is what, 6 cards? So you can take out that full 6 cards there for 6 more hand traps. And that can be a bit better depending on the matchup you're in. So with that being said, I'm pretty happy with the side deck here. I don't really think I would change much in it. If I had a Soul Release, actually, if I had Soul Release, I would definitely play it, or we're probably evenly matched. But either way, that's neither here nor there. But that is going to be our 40 card main deck, our 15 card extra, and our 15 card side deck. So with that being said, let me know what you think about the video itself, about the deck profile down in the comments below. Also, make sure to let me know if you think you would do anything differently with the deck. I'd love to hear, I'd love to read it. I love playing Dinosaurs. It's one of my favorite decks of all time. So if you guys have any suggestions for alternatives, obviously I would love to hear it. We're all learning and all trying to get better. Again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like on the video. If this video hits 250 likes, then I'll bring you the ultimate dinosaur combo guide with this deck here. It's going to have combos for going first, for going seconds, to break force, to OTK, and to set up massive negates as well. Also, make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. We are so close to hitting 7,500 subscribers. That is our goal. We are about 400 away right now, which is honestly incredible. So if you enjoy competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, deck profiles, meta discussions, all that kind of stuff, then make sure to subscribe. You'll love the content here. And finally, guys, make sure to check out the description as well for the Discord server and a link to my Twitter as well. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.